What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
They had kept their forces under wraps to catch the enemy off guard, and now that they knew the airships were basically armed with nothing but magic, they revealed their true selves. They really got one over on us, he thought.
Gentlemen, calm down. We're fighting monsters here, and if we are, you all know that our victory remains unassailable. No matter who our foe is, we simply need to launch our magic cancellers at full blast, and they'll all be pinned down.
Dragonutes might be a rare species, and those with transformation skills even rarer, but that didn't make them unbeatable. The airships were powerful, cherished weapons, developed for use against Veldora. Use their magic cancellers, the true showstopper among all their advantages, and not even the dragon family was worth breaking a sweat over. Even now, their magic cancellers were in effect and covering a wide area around them, including at ground level. But they were operating at something of a trial run. Only for the fight against Veldora would they be turned up all the way and focused on a single point. The bodies of monsters were made up of magicules. Disrupt the magicules in the air around them, and they'd inevitably slow down. And if these disruptive waves could be concentrated in a smaller way, they could render any sort of monster helpless.
Right away, sir.
As his aides hurriedly sprang into action, Farraga tried to grasp the battle situation. Save for their leader, the Dragonutes were forming teams of 5 in the air. 20 of their airships were currently engaged in battle with them, and fewer than 10 ships in their fleet had been taken down. There was still plenty of room to recover.
Major General, we're ready to fire. But in our current position, we'll lose some of our own allies to the cannon blast.
So?
Oh, never mind, sir.
Then get on with it.
Yes, sir.
What would happen if you shot magic cancellers on an airship that stayed aloft on magical force? It was obvious, without the magical effect upon it, the airship would follow the laws of physics right to the ground. The crew would be wiped out, including the magicians who looked up to Farraga, their old companion in the magic division. But despite that, Farraga gave the order without batting an eye.
Begin irradiation, now.
The remaining ships set off, circling around Gabble's forces and the airships they were currently engaged in battle with. Then, one after another, they fired their cancellers from their bows. The airships they targeted began to fall downward, along with the Dragonutes in combat. I'm sorry, but this is a necessary sacrifice. Farraga prayed silently, eyes wide open as the fallen airships hit the ground and burst into flames. There was no way the crew, to say nothing of the demons caught up in it, were safe.
Well done. Now the only thing that remains is the special one among them.
And even if magic doesn't work on it, the shock wave and the heat are beyond anything it could take.
It was a great sacrifice, but a small price to pay for taking out 100 upper-level magic-born.
A hint of relief washed over the aides, but it was Farraga who rained on their parade.
Don't rest easy yet. Sacrificing your compatriots is nothing to be proud of. And we haven't finished off that one individual yet.
The words made the aides stiffen. The Demon Lord-class individual had been frozen in the air, but its wings were still intact and keeping it in the sky. With more than 20 airships now destroyed, there was no way they could let it escape.
If it were only the flightless Datta of the Big Four, we wouldn't have had any of this trouble.
Indeed. We, in tandem with Gaster's tank force, could have broken down even the strongest of defenses.
But this guy here is pinned down by the magic canceller. If we keep irradiating him, it has to tear his body apart sooner or later.
We can't be certain of that. Our analysts are still conducting observations, but the individual's energy values are falling only minimally.
Hearing this exchange between his aides made Farraga feel a sudden chill in his core. We're exposing it to magic cancellers from over 70 airships at once, and all we can do is pin it down? So trying to weaken him is meaningless altogether? As much as he couldn't believe it, Farraga felt this called for rethinking his strategy. This, he knew, was a whole new dimension of strength. Focusing all their magic cancellers only just stopped his movements. Maybe they could weaken it with time, but he had no idea there was another monster on the level of Veldora like this. This guy has to be more trouble than Datta of the Big Four. But wait. At that moment, Farraga suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Maybe this individual here was Veldora, the exact target they had been looking for. The thought sounded enticingly convincing to him.
If this is Veldora, then that explains the off-the-charts energy readings.
Before he knew it, his mouth was speaking by itself. His aides had a wealth of reactions to it.
Oh, so being newly freed from his seal, maybe he's too weakened to even maintain his dragon form?
Weakened? He's got all this power, and you call that weakened? Even his squadron had powers comparable to dragons. In fact, we've even tracked a few of them approaching the level of an archdragon.
That's right.
said Farraga.
That, my friends, is the horror of Veldora. He defeated the Imperial Army once before, my master Gadra told me the story. And even after being sealed away for 300 years, he's still that strong. Hard to even imagine what he was like pre-seal, isn't it?
His aides nodded approvingly as they listened.
Yes, with that much power, no wonder the army of Farmus never stood a chance.
The Major General is right. I'm pretty convinced this is Veldora.
Most of the people in the room agreed, but some still had their doubts.
Excuse me, Major General. According to our documents, the name of the Dragonate leader is Gabble.
That's an alias, you.
said Farraga, laughing it off.
We've all heard about how Veldora's power has waned after being sealed off. He's just trying to keep a low profile until he regains his true fighting strength.
With that much assurance, the questioning aide had no choice but to back down.
It's rather unheard of for a monster to take an alias. But if any would, it'd be Veldora, perhaps?
There were still assorted things he didn't agree with Farraga on, but instead he forced himself to see things his way. And once word spread among the crew that Veldora was the individual they were pitted against, the officers' faces all lit up with joy.
It's terrible that we lost 30% of our valued airships, but if that was against Veldora, it's hardly anyone's fault.
If anything, it's a stroke of good luck. We needed to be on the lookout for the wide-ranging attack that defeated Farmus. Good thing we blocked him off with our magic cancellers as early as we did.
Yes, Farraga thought. Veldora's trapped in the cancellers, unable to move. Keep draining him of his strength, and it'll be far easier to kill him. Now, out of nowhere, he had completed the biggest coup of this whole operation. Slowly, deliberately, Farraga chewed on his good fortune.
Is the output on the cancellers all right?
No problems, sir. Stable 80%.
How much longer until it reaches maximum power?
Estimated under an hour, sir. At this rate, it's all we can do to pin him down, but little by little, Veldora's physical disintegration has begun. I think it'll be effective enough for us.
Veldora has an hour to live, then? Good. More than enough time for Gaster to finish seizing the ground war.
His aides were excellent. Without a word, they understood Farraga's intentions and worked with their analysts to provide him the needed updates. At the drop of a hat, they were reviewing their operation and identifying potential problems. In an hour, they concluded, Gopta of the Big Four should be suitably routed. Fusing with that wolf monster made him a formidable force, but it still lost out to Veldora. If Gaster's tank battalion put their minds to it, it wouldn't be too hard to defeat him.
If it's Veldora and his kin, then no wonder magic didn't work. But the goddess of victory has smiled upon us. Just sit back, relax, and the Empire's long-held dream will be granted.
Now fully convinced, Farraga focused on rallying his soldiers' morale. Victory was in the air across the bridge.
Let's get some wine ready.
Good idea. Something special this time. A nice 400-year-old vintage, perhaps, please.
Yes, the perfect wine to toast the Empire's vindication. The lease should settle within an hour.
Very good. Let's go with that, then.
Oh, can I have some, too?
The beautiful girl, her long bluish-purple hair in a side ponytail, had sat herself down in the aide's seat next to Farraga. Since when was she here? And not just that. She was in a full military uniform, one that didn't suit her age at all, but despite its abject formality, it only enhanced the girl's cute looks. Farraga quickly regretted his carelessness. The sheer certainty of his victory had left him too relaxed. And not just him, all the other aides and officers on the bridge were the same. The girl must have wound her way through all those mental gaps to make her way in here.
Who are you?
Where did this intruder come from? And what did she want? She was almost certainly foe, not friend, but Farraga doubted she'd give an honest answer.
Oh, I can't have any? Then I guess tea's fine instead. I've had a busy day as an observer, so I'm good and parched.
The rest of the bridge turned to see the mystery person Farraga was addressing. Their eyes went wide in astonishment when they spotted her. They had barriers in operation both inside and outside the ship, and nothing about this girl was detected in advance. And so there she was, sitting there like she always belonged on that seat.
I said, who are you?
Farraga slowly stood up and turned toward the girl. He accentuated his question by pointing a gun at her. The girl kept smiling, seemingly not threatened at all. And it wasn't a threat. Not for her.
You wanna know who I am? My name's Ultima. That name's super important. Sir Rimuru himself gave it to me.
This was Violet, the original purple and one of the most powerful, balance-breaking presences on the planet. Farraga calmly observed this Ultima, trying to assess her capabilities. Reasoning conversation would be an effective means to this, he spoke up.
Ultima? Never heard of you.
No? Wow, you're pretty ignorant. I came here 'cause I wanted to ask some questions, but maybe I ought to ask somebody else.
What?
Look, you guys are all gonna die soon, you know. So I want you to tell me about some stuff before that happens.
She delivered that explanation with a sweet, innocent smile. Seeing this conjured feelings within Farraga that were difficult for him to describe. If he had to compare it to something, it'd be like when he encountered a high-ranked Imperial Guardian for the first time, those absolute presences. If anything, Ultima was putting even more choking pressure on him than that. Are you telling me that I'm being pressured? By this girl? I'm actually afraid of her? Farraga doubted his own instincts. But the fact was that if this girl Ultima broke into an airship by herself, she had to be absolutely extraordinary. This was, no doubt, a major emergency. He guessed what she was after, then realized how obvious it was. Veldora, still held captive, was outside the observation window, a sight that symbolized the total victory of the Empire. The monsters must be absolutely frantic, and they'd likely try anything to get Veldora back. Ultima? I can't believe I'm shuddering under the thrall of this monster the IIB knew nothing about. This must be their top fixer of sorts. A top-level monster, serving Veldora directly. Definitely a top officer, one named only recently. She looked as human as they came on the outside, but it was impossible to put into words just how horrifyingly evil her aura was. He didn't know who she was, but Farraga, luckily, knew a monster with an aura like that. Gadra, his master, had been conducting fervent research on them. So Farraga pointed his gun at Ultima.
I've got it. You're a demon, aren't you?
Wow, good job. You're right.
Of course I am, he thought, chuckling to himself. With this level of evil spirit, she definitely had to be a high-ranking archdemon, one both physically incarnate and named. A true monster, through and through. The big open question at the moment was her rank. She's definitely noble, no doubt about that. Medieval or lower would be preferred, but if we're talking ancient, we might have some problems? No. We can stop a demon's special skills in this space. And a demon without magic is hardly anything to fear. Farraga began secretly giving instructions to his subordinates.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Vongola Tsunasa, Sayonari, Blaine Trevino, Mikia Celesgi, Luis Hernandez, Jay Wright, Alfredo Renteria, Arnav Ajay, Knife Mac, Eman G. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.